This is for the leaders, the visionaries, the hope bringers, kindness instigators. This is your place to get loved, poured into, activated, and inspired. Good morning. Welcome to Fireside Friday, Friday, December 5th, 2025. We are trucking right on through 2025. And I got to give a birthday shout out to one of my besties. If you are in Katie Sanders Vogel orbit today, wish her a happy birthday. This is her uh, birthday. So, wishing her a very happy new year into and celebrating the one that just passed. But just wanted to let you guys know it's Katie's birthday today. So, wish her a very happy birthday. Um, what's interesting for today is not what I thought as I was sitting and what's coming through, because for me personally, I felt a lot of shift into a different kind of momentum this week. And so I kind of expected that was going to be conversation, just feeling some lighter shifts. But I really feel like for us as a collective, I'm still being called to speak into the season that we're inside of, which is we're walking into winter, right? Working towards the solstice here in a couple weeks. And here in the Midwest, which I'm still on the fence about, Kentucky being called Midwest. It's weird to me. I'm like, should we be Mid-East? I feel like we're not West. Um, and so, but directions aren't my thing, so I'm not in charge of that. Okay. They didn't ask. They didn't ask for my feedback. Um, but we have some snow here this week in Kentucky, and it's been so beautiful. There's something about like the quietness that snow ushers in. Yes, the days get shorter, the light gets shorter, which I really struggle with. But right now, I'm seeking to find light um, in my home, creating that, whether it's candles or soft light, and really embracing the coziness of the season, which I love in general. I really feel like as a human being, this is something that I've come to understand about myself. Well, I think I'm still falling into the understanding of it, is that I think that I'm actually here to help people slow down in order to speed up, in order to find real alignment. And a lot of that does mean kind of like a breaking down and away from the rhythms that we're used to. And winter is a great proponent for that. We lose the light to grow the crops as well. Because this really isn't a harvesting season. It's almost like it's a rest, right? It's a rest and a simmer and a question and a ponder. And so earlier this week, I actually wrote a poem that I want to read here because I think it's really applicable to what's coming through for us as this collective of things that we get to be reminded of and replenished in our own spirits. And yeah, just calling us back into that same resting rhythm that winter kind of breaks into create and call us back to. Now, where's my floating window? Let's see. Here we go. So here's the poem. I don't have a title for it. If you hear it and you think this should be the title, feel free to share it with me. But days grow shorter, nights yawn longer. Brisk air, cutting and clever, combs through the trees. Autumn falls further into the embrace of winter's open arms. As light grows more precious with each passing day, fearing the darkness feels normal until I lean into my discomfort. Why do I fear the stillness? Why do I lean toward the noise? Familiar, hurried, scattered, normal? What am I missing? My hunger is deeper than this moment. My fatigue is heavy, if I'm honest. Could a slower pace revive? What does stillness offer? The land's heartbeat slows. Her wild tenants respond knowingly, some seeking warmer clients, some adorning thicker coats, some falling into a deep slumber to rest. You too are nature, a tenant of this winter season, sacred if you'll let it be. And that has become kind of the question for me right now in this season of seeking to embrace winter, embrace a different pace, and co-create in this space. Because what does rest actually produce for us? What does recharging actually look like for each one of us? It might look a little bit different. I remember my mom and I once, we were having a conversation, and I was talking to her about how she and my dad didn't rest. And I was like, you need more rest in your life, like just breaks, margin. And I remember her kind of coming back at me, and she's like, when I go for walks with your dad, that is how we rest. It is how we recharge. It's not just exercise. And for them, that was stimulating. It was time together. It was feeding something for them in their souls, and something that like I wasn't privy to, right? So sometimes our rest does look different. It does look a little more active. It does look engaging. Now, whether or not like that was really the crux of the conversation is one thing. So I offer that too as just like it may still not be rest. But coming back to the intention, what would make this season sacred for you? What would imbue this time, even if it's not your favorite, even if it's something that's creating discomfort? For me personally, discomfort has been a great teacher. It's been a great indicator of paying attention to why might why might I be struggling with this thing? Or why does this create such an internal dialogue for me? Why is there so much clamoring or so many voices that want to have the floor or that want to be invited into the discussion? What does that look like? When we slow that down and we start just being still with that question of like, what does this season look like for me? Am I scared of this season? What is it producing right now inside of me? I was also struck too by thinking about how, again, I associate winter with darkness. And I grew up in a evangelical tradition. And in that, we embrace so much of the light, so much of the light. We're always pushing toward the light, and there's nothing wrong with that. Um, but I think again, we are missing some of the beauty that darkness offers so much. Even when we think about seeds in the soil, seeds go into darkness. There is something that happens in the soil, in the darkness, almost like a womb. Wombs have to be dark, right? I mean, they don't have to be black holes, but I imagine like there's a lot of density going on around there. And I don't know that 100%. Maybe it's not dark. Maybe it's bright in that womb. I don't think so. So, but I just think, again, this is an invitation to think about darkness in such a way that it's almost like this cocoon. This season is your cocoon. What do you want to spend time thinking about, reflecting on? What would you like to feel? And I think there is a type of slowness that we're invited into. Again, that's almost the antithesis of what the season is about, at least here for us in the West. Some of the gatherings that you're going to be having over the next several weeks really are going to feed your fire. It's going to nourish you. It's going to be warm and bright and remind you of good, happy times. And for some of us too, holidays are really hard too, as well. When we've lost people we love, we're in a lot of rhythm and ritual of something. with repeated expectations with family and those kinds of rhythms for us culturally. And so it can also be hard to escape some of that sadness when it also feels so dark. But maybe again, you don't need to escape. Maybe instead, there is a beauty in befriending the darkness, the space of the rest inside the womb of gestation almost. Because again, creativity, really beautiful ideas and solutions that we crave in our lives and in the world deserve um, deep intentional thought. And for us to be able to have the space to even do that, like, are we charging ourselves? Are we nourishing and nurturing ourselves in order to be able to be a conduit for those things that we want to bring into the world, into our families, into the communities that we live inside of? What does that look like? What would a sacred season of winter look like for you? I did a little brain mapping for me earlier this week. And something that happens too is like I usually start with like some kind of word doodle in the middle. And I say doodle, it's because like for me, I'll like create some kind of font or something. I'm going to show you a picture of it. But it's almost like as I'm making that middle doodle and allowing my energy, intention, and thought to rest on that idea of what would make winter sacred for me, I'm letting things float up to the top as I'm even writing out that initial middle part of what I'm creating on, and letting it simmer, letting it see what floats to the top. And so from there, I drop in what that would look like for me. Um, and that's really a helpful prompt or a way for me to engage my internal world. Now, for you too, it could just be almost like a brain dump. It could be a list. Here's what I don't want for sacred season of winter. Here's what I do want. These are my non-negotiables. It could literally be a list. It could also be you listen to a meditation or you drop inward for 5 to 10 minutes with just some soft music in the background and let things also come to you that may exist beyond um, the time and space it takes to methodically sit down with something, or maybe you want to see what comes up in both ways. Um, so here's what my like little sacred winter, oh, we disappeared. We went away with all of it. I'll read you some of what's there, but it's this side. Is it still there? Okay. All right. Well, you get the idea. It's there for you. I just wanted you to. So for me, when I'm doing that, like I said, that initial, like even drawing of the words, and it doesn't have to be pretty. This isn't a journal of mine. Like I don't intend to take it out, but if you do decide that you want to make something pretty that you can look at, you can always use Canva. You don't have to use your hands, but I do think that there's also, for me, I used to also go to Barnes and Noble sometimes and pull magazines or books and seeing if anything called forward. That's another way to engage if you want to get out into the world and do some of this investigating and calling forward with yourself and your senses, like seeing what you gravitate toward with the intention of what does this sacred season look like for me, and letting it almost be like a scavenger hunt for your soul. What is feeling expansive? What is calling to you? Is there a color? Is there a word? Is there a theme? Are there images? There could be those things too that you get fun and really play with it. Like what I've got here, creating from creative initiations, sacral knowing and honoring. And then over here on the other side, it's like in tandem. So honoring natural rhythms of rest and creation, following instinct, not ego. So sometimes things are going to come through that expand on what you've already put on your, maybe if you're making a word map or you're letting things come through. But I put delectable treatment of self because I'm really craving that. I'm craving like, not bougie winter because it actually, for me, it really is simple. I'm craving a lot of simplicity, but I'm craving like a lot of ways to engage my senses in like deep, meaningful ways. And so I'm really, again, thinking about almost daily, like, what would that look like for me to feel delectable? And that could come back to food. It could come back to a piece of clothing. It could come back to like, I just want an hour to be in a cozy cocoon with my cats. Maybe that's delectable to me today. And again, that doesn't have to be any specific way. It just gets to be, again, a co-creative process with you as you create what this sacred season gets to be about. And even noticing too, noticing in this season, where are your glimmers and where are your triggers? So your glimmers too, what's shining at you, what's winking at you, what's bringing you warmth. And maybe it's something really small. Maybe it's the mug in your hands as you hold a warm beverage, like just noticing how that brings such warmth into your body. Maybe it's staring into a fire. Maybe it is being with someone that you really love, just having some presence and time. Um, and maybe too, it is sometimes also bemoaning the darkness. Sometimes it is like, I'm ready for the light. That's okay too. This is a place too where I feel like we get to imagine what a dynamic kind of season gets to be, and we have many different facets. So that also means a range. It doesn't mean also that we might also feel just cozy next to the fireplace, even though that's what we crave. But how can we create that? How can we create it in the moment? We might need it, or how can we create it in a day? And again, that may look like more of a mental projection because maybe we feel like we can't get there, or the house is chaotic, or the kids are loud, or lots of people are around, and we go to a closet and we imagine sitting next to that fireplace. Just even taking 5 minutes to do something like that, I promise it will change your state and it will engage you in a way. The way that I keep thinking about this for myself as well is, what would I do if I wanted to invite a child into this? What would that look like? And in being in presence with their own emotions and ebbing and flowing, what does that look like in this season? What does it look like to engage in that way? Um, all right, so our card today comes from the Divine Feminine Oracle. The colors red and brown were coming up for me too. Um, and so red being that I feel like associates with almost like vitality, the blood of white life, that womb, that darkness, that brown space. And then brown too, I feel like rooted into the earth, like coming back into just being in the energy of the land too, of letting the like almost like the hum of what's quietly taking place in the earth right now, in the roots, in the resting. It's like a very actually, it's almost like I feel like it's like a purr if we'll listen to it, like a pet's, like a cat's purr of like, ooh, maybe that there's something there for us that feels regenerative, restorative, or just brings us back into that breath, a breath, steady breath of life. Okay, so today we've got Catherine Lebeau or Labor. I think it's French if I'm started reading this. And so, the patroness of miraculous healing. I'm sure, I think we've had her before. I am ready to heal. I am worthy of the miracles meant for me. Who she is, Catherine embodies our capacity to facilitate our own healing. Catherine was born in Côte d'Or, France in 1806. When she was 9 years old, she picked up a statue of the Virgin Mary after her mother's funeral and said with a kiss, "Now you will be my mother." As a young woman, she became a member of the Nursing Order of St. Vincent de Paul in Paris. She chose this order after she had a vision of St. Vincent's heart in the church on Rue de Bac. In 1830, Catherine had a vision of Mary standing in the Vessia Pisces with rays of light streaming out from the center of her open palms. She asked Mary in the vision, why some of the rays don't reach the earth. And Mary explained, those are the graces of which people forget to ask. Okay, I'm going to pause right here for just a moment. I love this. She asked for Mary in the vision. Okay. She's taking space and time to be with herself. There is something coming forward from that conversation. We can only have those kinds of visions. Sure, they could happen while we're in traffic or we're driving. We can receive information anywhere we are. But I do think that this probably came through a moment of intentional focused time. It doesn't have to mean that it looks any specific way, but I do think it was given time, space, and intention. And so I think again, there's a reminder here of like what can come through, what can we co-create when we are willing to slow down, be with ourselves, and have space with us. And I started to say heart and said hearth instead. I have for whatever reason. This is the first time here I'm sharing even on Fireside Friday. And for those of you listening to the recordings, I created something called Hearth for the Holidays. And it is there are 14 guided meditations, visualizations that started dropping every Monday and Thursday. So one daily. I think it began at the very end of November or middle of November, and it goes through the first of the year. So we're about to the sixth. I think just came out this week. Fifth or sixth. Sorry. We're about halfway through those drops, but I created Hearth for the Holidays as a way for us to engage our internal spheres, to create that dialogue and space to be with us, to draw us back into that internal conversation, and also for us to be able to receive messages as well in some of those spaces of proximity of just being with us. And if that is something that would serve you in this season, I'm going to put in the show notes today, when you're listening to the recording, a way for you to access that. It is I've got it set up where you have to pay for it, but it is a pay what you can, pay if you can. And if you just want access, just let me know. My email's evelynfusen@gmail.com. And I think it will be there on the PayPal link as well, that will unpack and show you and also have a written place to kind of give you some grounding context for what I'm talking about. But if you're looking for a way to have a vehicle to be more with yourself, that is something that I think will help you to engage yourself in this season and come back into that space of rest with yourself. Okay. So Catherine was instructed to create a miraculous medal based on the vision of Mary. Remember, she saw her with all of these lights coming from behind her. Um, all who wear them, it is believed, will receive great graces. So St. Catherine's miraculous medal became a wildly popular among all sects of Christianity. It is worn by millions of Christians all over the world to this day. When your soul selects her card, it can feel effortless to ask for what our loved ones need. We can fall on our knees at times or pray for the health and highest possible outcome for our beloved children and partners or friends. What's often far more difficult is asking for all that we need. For many of us, lack of self worth can get in the way of realizing that we can ask for so much more, and that ultimately there is no difference between praying for our own needs and the needs of our loved ones. There are so many miracles, graces, and blessings that don't arrive simply because we don't ask for them. Spirit is ethical. Spirit doesn't interfere with our intrinsic right to choose our own adventure story. Free will is ours, so we have to ask for Spirit to intervene in the effort of our own healing. Ask and you will find. This is a spiritual truth, and also suffering is optional. Suffering doesn't glorify us or make us more holy. At any point, we can ask for the highest possible good to shower down on us. We can ask to be healed in the ways we can't even imagine by handing that healing over to the divine. The healing might not arrive in the way we picture being healed or held. Our lower back may still throb with pain, but our heart has shifted, and there's a miraculous amount of life within our own lives again. If we can hand over an attachment to what healing is going to look like, we can receive all the blessings waiting for us. If we can hand over an attachment to what healing is going to look like, we can receive all the blessings waiting for us. What can I ask for help in healing? I am ready to heal. I am worthy of the miracles meant for me. You are so worthy of the miracles meant for you. You are worthy of a sacred season of rest. You are worthy of the healing that you crave, of the alignment that you seek, of the meaningful work that you are doing and want to be doing in the world. So take care of yourself, lean inward, receive what you need. Let all the rest fade away into the busy blur of the season and just really, really come back to center. Come back to you. Come back to your breath. Come back to this moment. Be in the darkness. Be curious about what it means, if that is also something that feels. Mm. And then again, how can we create some of that warmth and light that you might be missing in the darkness too? How can we intentionally create and stoke those fires? How can us investigating what that looks like? Maybe it's a season of surrender, maybe it's a season of more rest and reconnection. Maybe it truly is a season where you are actually creating, whatever that looks like for you. I honor it with you, and I'll see you next week.